Well, hello everyone, this is CJ with Cyclotron. Well, we're enjoying some fantastic weather here. This is early December in eastern Kansas. The end of November was great too, around Thanksgiving. I mean, we've had many days of over 60 degrees for the high during the day. I went out riding yesterday, it actually hit 72, sunny. But I'm definitely looking forward to taking a longer trip next year. I thought I was going to take a longer trip this year, and the work situation was such that I was working crazy hours and couldn't get away. So my question for you today is, what trip are you thinking about taking next year? You know, I enjoy riding in town on the highway, but seems like lately a lot of my in-town riding, I'm stuck behind some Buick going 10 miles under the speed limit. So the open road is calling to me. As I mentioned, it's been really warm lately. My kids had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off for Thanksgiving week, plus the weekend obviously. So we decided to go down to Big Bend National Park in Texas. So that's a 2,000-mile round trip from my house. It's a trip that I've wanted to take on a motorcycle. My oldest son and I, in 2018, we got into the Texas Hill Country. We were kind of thinking about extending our trip, and then I was having some health issues, and we had to haul back. And then in 2019, we tried it again. Both of these trips were during spring break, so in March. And I was on this bike, my Street Glide Special, and my son was riding my Ducati Multistrada that I had at the time, my oldest son, and then my son, who's now 16, was on the back of this bike. And we got within 100 miles or so of the park in Marfa, Texas, when this massive, hundreds of mile long winter storm, this derecho as they call it, with 100-mile-an-hour winds and monsoon rains was coming through. And I realized if we had pressed on to the park, we would have been caught in the middle of that thing. So we had to haul it back from there. Didn't take a trip last year, so I thought, okay, at least we're going to get down there in the car and take the family and check it all out. So we made it down there. It's really hot in the summer. It's, of course, the south end of the park's on the Mexico border. So it's extremely hot in the summer. In fact, a lot of campgrounds are closed during the summer because it's too hot. So a popular time of the year is, around spring break, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Apparently between Thanksgiving and Christmas is the busiest time in the park. We stay at the resort that they have down there. And resort is like an old-style hotel, but it was nice. And I was just lucky I got a reservation. I had just caught a cancellation from somebody right before I called. So usually those rooms book up 2 years in advance. So we made it down there. It was absolutely spectacular, the beauty. I mean, that was supposed to be the busiest time of the year for that park, and it wasn't bad. I mean, there was a lot of congestion going into this 6-mile road into the resort, but other than that, it seemed like you had the park to yourself if you could get away from the pack, which we did. So we got up early Saturday morning and took one of the main roads west out through the park. Here's a few pictures we took. It's absolutely stunning. So we're definitely planning to come back on the motorcycles when we can, sometime next year. I'd say it's one of the more scenic places I've been to in the United States. I was really impressed with Glacier National Park. I was there 30 years ago, and I hear it's way more crowded than it used to be. I lived in California for about 5 years, and I never went to Yosemite. I know that's kind of bad, but I was always put off by the huge crowds. I don't like big crowds. I went to Sturgis in '87. That was enough for me. I would like to go to those places when everyone else is going somewhere else. So that's my style. I know some people like to go for the socializing. I like to go for the riding and the scenery myself. If I want a bunch of congestion, I'll just stay in town like this, which I get most of the year. So anyway, Big Bend is a fairly new national park. It became a park in 1944. And it's very interesting to me down there. West Texas is really interesting in general, but I really like it down there. So I'd say, I've been to Yellowstone, I've been to Glacier. Teton's really impressive. You see these mountains just coming off of a valley floor, just bam, there they are. But the landscape at Big Bend is really dramatic with the weather and the lighting, and there's not much light pollution, very little. It's some of the darkest skies that you can have in the continental U.S. Unfortunately, it was cloudy when we were down there, so I didn't get to see the night sky. I did experience the night sky in a rural part of Vietnam in the late 90s, and that's the first time I ever saw the Milky Way with the naked eye. I mean, just like bam. And I'm sure you could see it down there. I'm sure there's some of you like me who maybe live in big cities and haven't really got a good look at the Milky Way. That's something you got to do in your lifetime. But I have to say, this unseasonably warm weather that we're having, it really tempts you to make a run 1,000 miles each way to someplace like Big Bend. But it wouldn't be prudent if you've got the risk of getting caught in a storm and having to hole up for several days or even a few weeks. So this weather's great, but in retrospect, I could have made that trip to Big Bend if I hadn't been on a tight schedule with my kids being out of school for such a short period of time. I think the coldest it got on that trip was about 39 degrees one morning, and then later that day it rained for a bit, which wouldn't have been thrilling, but it's doable. I mean, it sure beats sub 20 degree weather and snow or ice. We camped one night on the way down to Big Bend on this family trip recently, and we had a lot of fun. Of course, we had a giant tent, couldn't possibly fit on a motorcycle. So if it's going to be me and a couple of my boys, we'll just get these little small one-man tents that you can get for cheap. So winter's a good time for planning, unless you have unseasonably warm weather, and then you probably want to be out on your bike. I know people that still put their bikes away in late October, early November, where I live, and I really don't know what they're thinking. I mean, I get it if you don't want to ride when it's too cold, or if you got a chance of having sand or snow on the road. I don't like to get out on that stuff, but where I live now, you usually get several days, at least one day a week where you can ride. Occasionally you'll get these really nasty bomb cyclone type events where you're just iced in for a couple of weeks, but that doesn't happen every year. And then, like I said, this year I've had 2 weeks of 60 degree plus weather. So for you guys that live in my area that have your bike put away for the winter, I'll wave to you as I ride by. Although yesterday there's a lot of bikes out on my usual route out in the country. But like I said, I'm looking forward to having a longer trip for sure this year. So again, let me know what you're thinking about going. How much detail do you put in your trip planning? I like to loosely plan where I'm going to go. If it works out that we get there, great. I make sure I have fun along the way and back. I'm prepared to turn back if weather conditions deteriorate, where it's going to make me sick or miserable, or would otherwise be imprudent to continue. Short of that, I'm gonna go for it. I don't know if the unseasonably warm weather is what prompted my daughter's Vespa scooter to get stolen from her place last night. Fortunately, she wasn't around when it happened, so she didn't have to confront somebody in the middle of a theft like that. But they got it all on camera, and I think they're going to catch the dirtbag. But I'll be curious to see what she does with her insurance money, less deductible. She'll end up with a lot less money than it would take to buy a replacement, the way the prices have shot up. So she is all bummed out about that, understandably, but you know, you hear about people getting even big Harleys like this stolen at major events. My dad used to live in Daytona Beach, Florida, and there's always news stories about people cruising by in trucks that had little cranes on them. They just pick the bikes up and haul them away. So, as I mentioned, we might go camping on our motorcycle trip next year, so if any of you got much experience with that, please let me know in the comments down below. So, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to try and pump out some more videos over the holiday season and get my production schedule ramped back up again. So, look forward to your comments. Thanks very much.